And welcome to this episode of FinServ Tech Oracles. I'm Johna Johnson here with your oracular colleague, Jerry Murphy, to share
Hello.
our thoughts on financial services firms. Jerry, for this episode, you really wanted to discuss AI PCs, whatever the heck they are, and why companies should care about them. So
Well,
let's start with what are AI PCs and why should companies care about them?
well, if you think about why is the advent of AI come in the first place, it's really because of cloud computing, because of all of the massive amounts of compute available in the cloud. You're able to do all of these detailed analyses that have enabled AI to occur in the first place. Of course, you couple that with Moore's law, and the chips that we get on our endpoints are getting more and more powerful to the point where you're starting to be able to have some of that AI capability instead of it going on in the cloud, actually happening on your endpoint, ultimately, possibly at the edge of your premise as opposed to the cloud. But it's where the actual AI computation is happening nearer to you. And
So
ultimately,
let me ask you a really stupid question because both of us are old farts. Um, how is an AI PC any different from a gaming PC, which just has ramped up computation that optimizes it for gaming? Are we talking about just a PC that's got ramped up computation optimizing it for AI?
well, it could be that, but I think it's just raw computation in general. I mean, if you look at if you're going to look at the NVIDIA video processing chips, I mean, it's this massive parallel processing that's allowing a lot of that. In my From my perspective, a lot of that has to do a lot more with the training of the rules more than it is the actual using of intelligence once you have it. So, I'm not convinced that all that massive parallel processing is required once you already have trained data sets.
So
Um,
two questions for that, because you mentioned NVIDIA and you also mentioned in the notes, Microsoft is super excited about this.
right.
Are you talking about PCs that have NVIDIA chips on them or standard Intel chips that are beefed up? Like, what are you talking
I'm
about
more like the standard
architecturally?
Intel chips that are beefed up. I'm not
Okay.
seeing that you're going to be having that what these things are doing is taking advantage of huge NVIDIA chipsets. Because if you think about the parallel processing that's happening there with the NVIDIA, what are they, the 10,000s? I mean, you're literally
Yeah.
talking about um, compute elements that really cost $100,000. So we're really not talking about that. Those things are needed for the training of the trillions of data sets that are out there to go through things to do the analysis and creation in the first place. No, I think this is more talking about once you have things trained, helping you scour things that are local on your system and giving prompts. So I'm not seeing that what they're really doing there is Microsoft is going to have an operating system that is using NVIDIA, but the operating system, there are key things in the operating system where the operating system itself is having hooks into information more quickly, so that the hooks that it's getting in there with the operating system are allowing you to do some of these queries faster.
Got it. Got it. So basically, if I can kind of summarize this, these are standard PCs with beefed up, Intel processing. So if I'm Intel, I care about this as a trend based on how trendy it actually is, whether people are actually going to do this. If I'm Microsoft, I can see an opportunity to sell an upgraded operating system that delivers optimization for AI. And I'm just smiling
Yes.
because Microsoft sells another operating system just seems to be story of our lives, right? I hope this one's
Well,
good
and again, it's less a brand new operating system than it is
and
modification of the
upgraded. Yeah.
existing operating system, which has input output hooks to allow those types of queries to be happening in the operating system as opposed to happening
I mean,
on
in
a
the
third party
application.
application per se.
Yep, got it. And actually, Microsoft is not badly positioned to do this because of its own efforts in AI. So it actually, at least one would hope, understands at
Right.
least some of the problem. I know you wanted to weigh in on the benefits versus drawbacks, and then I have one last question before
Sure.
we sign out. But what do you think the trade offs are, the benefits versus the
Well,
drawbacks?
the the benefit is it really can dramatically help a lot of us in our day-to-day lives. Think about Star Trek episodes where Scotty's saying, "Computer, what do you do with this and this and this?" I mean,
Okay, dude,
it actually can help with some of the, speech to text conversion, automatic queries. It can help what I call, it's not going to help you find a needle in a haystack, but it helps you get rid of the hay, right? So I think it can be very helpful there. It can help you come up with some ideas of things to search for. It can help narrow the list of things. My caution is really two, right? One is it's still using AI today. If you're not an expert in the things that you're asking for advice on, it still can give you very scary information that may actually do you more harm than good.
How can you tell whether this mushroom is toxic? Taste it first.
Yeah,
and that is a legit AI response to that question. So yeah, no,
right. So there's that. The other caveat having, hearkening to Microsoft and all the huge data sets, and when you think about the hooks that it's got in the operating system into back end data, it's going to be, it's going to be helpful to you as an individual for doing some of these things, but it's going to be really helpful to big data companies, right? Because in my mind, cynically, I'm thinking this is just going to help them even further refine the details of what you're looking at, how you're looking at things, what the data you're looking at. And there's nothing in there that my cynical mind says that doesn't just also become a huge opportunity for Microsoft in cooperation with Meta and its pals, in quotes, to just give even more data for analysis of what you're doing to those guys. So that would be my other big caution.
Well, and so that actually kind of brings me to exactly the question I wanted to ask, which is, let's say I'm a financial services firm listening to this, and basically you're saying, hey, Microsoft is excited about this, Intel is excited about this, the Wall Street Journal's writing stories. Should I go out and buy a bunch of these and give them to my data analysts? Like, what should I do here?
Well, as soon as you say, going to your data analysts, maybe those are the people it goes to, right? If you're going to give them to people to try out, I would give them to your experts first. That this is not the thing that I would give your CEO as a new toy for sure, right? I mean, I think you're really asking for a lot of heartache if that's the first person you give it to. So
yeah, no, that
guys
does
can kick it around because they're going to be figuring out what not to use it for as much as what you can use it for, which I think when you're first looking at it is going to be really important, especially for risk sensitive companies like financial services.
Okay, so basically your top takeaway is these AI PCs are a thing. They're not quite as different from traditional PCs as they might sound. They use the same hardware, just, same hardware, similar operating systems, just tweaked around the edges.
Yeah.
There is potentially some benefit to them because they can, offload some of the number crunching from the models in the cloud. Yeah, of course, the downside is, always, data protection, data leakage. And also, we don't really have the use cases hammered out or fleshed out. But if this intrigues you, you're a financial services firm and you have an active emerging technology space, you might want to buy a bunch of these and have your data analysts kick them around and see where they work and perhaps flesh out some of these use cases and applications for them. Is that kind of
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, with that, we are out of time for this episode, but thank you for tuning in. And that's it until next week at 0900.